that's what we all think about. You know, our future is all these kids. You know, we always think about how do we make sure our kids have the same opportunity we had. And by the way, Danny alluded to this a little bit. You know, we're having a hard time recruiting now. The only branch that is meeting its recruiting numbers is the Marines. And so we've got to get back to where it was before, where people said, "Man, I am proud. I want to get in the service." But right now we actually are having a hard time. One of the nicest things I do get to do in this job is I get to nominate 10 people for each of the academies. And we have a great program in our state. If you have a relative interested, then we have about 500 some applicants a year. I get to nominate 10 for each branch. We've had a really good success of getting them accepted. I think next year it's going to go to 15. So if you know a high school student that's interested in serving in one of our in one of our branches, it's an unbelievable opportunity. They get a great education and they get to serve our country. So it's a great opportunity, and they probably don't have to do what I did: swab the decks and clean the latrines. So it might be a better deal. So next we're going to hear from Rosemary Morales. Rosemary.
Hello, I'm Rosemary Morales, retired Army captain. Yeah. I had the pleasure of meeting Rick Scott in 2020, so it was a while ago. And I was recognized at a veterans breakfast at Crackle Barrel. You wouldn't think that's where we went. And there he listened to us. He addressed all of our concerns individually. I got to talk to him about the issues that we're facing with the VA and the issues that veterans are having in getting the proper care that they need. So Rick Scott has been working tirelessly to make Florida one of the most veteran-friendly states. And he's been working and fighting with the VA so we can get the care that we deserve and what we have earned. And that's why I endorse Rick Scott. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, one of the issues we're dealing with is, when you're in business, and I built business in my life, you have a customer and you're supposed to, provide them whatever service. In the case of VA, or I was in the hospital business, the care that you promise them. It's been really frustrating. The people that work at VA are good people, so this is not a knock on them. But the way they've set up the VA often, it makes it very difficult for our veterans to get the services. It should not be a black hole. You should know what benefits you're entitled to. You should know exactly where to do it. You should know exactly what the wait times are. You should know all that information. And so we actually worked on it when I was governor, and we've been working on it since I've been in the Senate. But we've got a lot of work to do to improve our VA system, which has nothing to do with the quality of the people that are there each and every day. They do want to do the right thing. So thank you, Rosemary. Now we're going to hear from Kurt Geis. I said it the right way?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Kurt Geis, and I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. So,
Navy.
Uniquely, though, in my 25 years, I never served on a ship. I spent 37 days total. If you look at the back wall here, you'll see the United States Navy Seabees, which is our construction force. That was what I was a proud member of. Danny talked about this being the greatest nation in the world. When I got the call to come speak, it was about 3 weeks ago, and I was just out of the hospital. I had open heart surgery on Memorial Day weekend. And I know for a fact that if I had not been in this greatest country in the world, that I probably would not have survived. So I'm here today to endorse the senator. I look on the back wall also. This is an amazing museum. If you have not walked through it, I got to do that this morning. You look at the back headline. It says, "Deadline at high noon," when President Bush gave the Saddam Hussein the dictate to get out of the country. Well, I was actually in the war room when General Tommy Franks initiated that command to start Operation Iraqi Freedom, and it happened at actually 8 o'clock at night because it was in Qatar. But it's relevant because I've been able to see this country at all different levels. When I came home and I retired, I couldn't stop serving, so I am now the executive director of an organization called Challenge 22, which our goal is to end veteran suicide. I've met with the senator on several occasions through the American Legion, and he's been a strong supporter of ending that cause. And so that's one of the main reasons why I'm here today, because he's such a fighter for veteran issues. After the election, When he wins, I hope he also will step up and serve as the next Senate Majority Leader.
That would be good for our state.
Yes, it would. So with that, I'd like to read my endorsement. I said I strongly endorse Rick Scott for United States Senate from Florida because I believe in his integrity, his values, and the policy he fights for while serving me in the United States Senate. As a fellow United States Navy veteran, I've watched with intense interest Rick's actions and the stances he takes, whether it is for veterans issues, a strong national defense, a secure border, or fiscal conservatism. Rick Scott shows the leadership and the drive to fight for what's best for Floridians and what's best for veterans. And it is without hesitation that I strongly endorse Senator Rick Scott for another 6-year term as one of Florida's United States Senators.
Yes.
How's your heart?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Okay.
I got the zipper, but it's doing great. It's hard to believe that 8 weeks ago I was basically dead. They stopped my heart for an hour and did a quintuple bypass, and here I am today.
Glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
My dad had open heart surgery when they just started it back in the late 60s, and that's a tough procedure. So it's hard on people. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And thanks for your service. It's one of the nice things. I shouldn't get credit for this. It's all the people who work in my offices, but we won for the best constituent services team in the country. We have 9 offices in Florida, 1 in D.C. So if you need anything, whether it's your veterans benefits or immigration issues or any federal agency, that's our job. Where's Gary? Gary Barrios is, I think he's at the back. Gary runs our Kissimmee office, but we've got an Orlando office. Barry Cotton runs. So we've got a great team of people, and when we're going to win re-election, we're going to continue to work on getting veterans issues done. The one committee that I'm on that actually does work well is Armed Services, and we actually have real amendment votes, and it actually works. We do it every year. We pass the National Defense Authorization Act every year, so it makes a big impact. So now let me turn it over to somebody that I respect and admire, Calvin Wimbish.
Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you. Like Senator Scott, I too was back in the Vietnam era. I tell people I'm 47, but I'm 74. I'm proud of my age because my dad who's a Navy vet, I just came back from Baltimore last night, went up there to celebrate his 100th birthday. And like you, he served in the Navy for a brief period of time. Oh my God, you and my dad has to meet. And my 2 brothers and I also joined the service, followed my dad's footsteps. And I want to also recognize Congressman Corey Mills. You maybe become a senator someday. He flew a flag for me over the Capitol because Rick was so busy I couldn't get a hold of him. And my dad was so proud to receive it. But that's okay because we need to get him in again because he's been there for us since the Vietnam era. From 82nd Airborne to the 5th Special Forces to being an aviator, going out to military intelligence, finding guys like Corey and I did in the Badlands of Iraq and Afghanistan with my friend with the Special Forces who's down in Colombia. Thank you so much. I was proud to get an award from him a few years ago. But I stand here proudly to say what Rick is doing. A thought came to my mind. I had written out a little speech, but I'm going to keep it simple. The 3 words that never should be connected again, but we need to separate it so it never should happen again to our veterans, is homeless, veterans, and disabilities, and disabled. There's too many veterans out there under the bridges and the streets that are being unrecognized and unprotected and unhelped. It's one thing to say, hey, they're out there, but what are we, the people, doing to bring them back in? They earned their right to have all the people who were safe and secure to go out and help bring them in, bring them to the VA. I have the pleasure of now having a little part over at the VA. And when I see so many veterans that need to come in and get help, both emotionally, mental, physical, they need counseling coaches. We know they have a relative somewhere because they didn't come here by themselves. Because God said, bring man and woman together and they become one and they bring the kids. That man or that woman who's a veteran, who's now homeless, disabled, can't get services and get them in a proper time, needs our help. We can find them. The records can find who they are. And then those families perhaps need to get some coaching and counseling. Why don't you re-embrace that family member who you left on the street? None of us should allow them to be left behind. And as a proud, it's hard when I think about some of the people that have been left behind in combat. Corey and everybody's been going back and forth trying to bring them out And when I think about the young kids that we try to get into safe zones, girls who never have a chance to grow up like these young ladies, to be a proud part of their country, now are now forced to do things they shouldn't do. I was honored to come back and be a JROTC instructor. I commend what Senator Scott has done and other congressmen have done. We need young men and women to step up to the plate. Honor and integrity, 2 words I would tell my cadets. If you're not in it to win it, if you can't hack it, I'm not going to let you pack it. Because you got to be up front and for your country. We need all of you to join hands together. And some of the great words of Martin Luther King, when all God's children, both black men and white men, Christians and Jews, come together. We got to make sure that this America, this Judeo-Christian nation, is not left behind. You are not left behind, and we can't leave him behind. So let's get him back into office for 6 more years so he can make a big difference for all the veterans that are out there. And as a disabled vet myself, 100%, I want to let you know it ain't over until it's over, and we got to get him back in to win November the 5th. Let's do it.
You know, what Calvin brought up is the homeless issue of veterans is actually a problem that, you know, there's federal things we're doing, there's state things, and a lot of it's local things we have to do. And what's great about our state is you go around our state and there's local groups dealing with homelessness, and so, but you really feel sorry for them. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend. So if you think about the way elections work, the way representation works, it's a team sport. It's having the right mayors, the school board members, city council, congressmen, congresswomen, senators, president. All this together makes it happen. So Corey Mills, who is co-chair of Veterans for Rick Scott, is an 82nd Airborne veteran, like my dad. Which my grandsons want to be in the service. They probably like Corey's job. He was also a sniper. So my hand-eye coordination is not that good. My wife would have been better at it. But I want to thank Corey. He's hit the ground running. He's not been in Congress a long time. He's hit the ground running. I met a young lady the other day. I'm trying to think of where it was, but he saved her life. He went over to Afghanistan and got her back when everybody left her. So he's done that in a variety of places, and so I'm most respect to Congressman Corey Mills.
Yes,
Well deserved.
Well, look, it's such an honor to be here. You know, I remember when Senator Scott was Governor Scott, and he did a great job of trying to support the state, to ensure we were economically viable, to make sure there was opportunities, and to really prioritize our veterans. You know, our veterans for too long has been completely neglected, and we always talk about the fact that no one takes better care of veterans than veterans themselves.
Amen.
You know, I'm a United States Army combat veteran. I served proudly in the 82nd. I was attached to the Joint Special Operations Command in Iraq, and I can tell you that I served wearing that flag on my sleeve with honor. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those rare opportunities where you get to serve something and serve a purpose that's greater than yourself. And I think that carries over to what both Senator Scott and I do today when it comes to D.C. You know, prior to 2022, only about 17% of all of Congress was made up of military veterans. And when you think about where we have continued to throw ourselves in this interventionist mindset, when you think about these endless wars that we have no exit strategy for, when you think about how we're actually treating the lives and treasures of Americans, we have to get back to what it is first to take care of one another. We have to prioritize America, Americans, and American interest.
Yeah,
and we have to understand that the continual neglect of our veterans is the actual voice of why we're sitting at the largest recruitment deficit that we've ever seen, with 41,000 people in our recruitment deficit, 8,600 who have been unconstitutionally purged because of their medical and religious freedoms being denied when it comes to the vaccination. We need to get back to what it is to take care of one another. And I think that what Senator Scott has continued to stand for as a member of the Armed Services Committee in the Senate, and myself as a member of the Armed Services Committee in the House, is that we work together to ensure that our National Defense Authorization Act is not just tailored towards getting back to increased lethality, readiness, and being properly equipped, while getting rid of the divisiveness of DEI and other things, but it's about the families. We have to understand that when we serve, our families serve alongside us. And that's why we've continued to look at improving not just our military construction and our VA, but also the ideas of getting child care not 2 days a week, but 5 days a week, to ensure that they have the ability to pursue their careers, to ensure that they have the ability to pursue their education and their goals, and that we're supporting them all the way down there. You know, when we have military members who are willing to dedicate their lives to defend this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, they should not make less money than a person who's full-time at Chick-fil-A. They should not have to go on WIC and other benefits in order to try and go ahead and make ends meet. And we know with the current inflation rates, we know the middle class being cut out, that we have to start putting into play not just what it is to strengthen our military to prepare for our adversaries, but give them a better quality of life so that they want to be retained in our military to continue to serve. I have such honor and respect for every brave man and woman who wants to wear the uniform. And I think that when you're willing to dedicate your life and write a check up to and including your life, or as Abraham Lincoln said, to pay the last full measure, the least that we can do as elected officials is ensure that you have the things that you need in order to be successful. Not another veteran should go homeless or go hungry. Not another veteran should be turned away. And I'm very proud as the congressional member for Florida 7th District to say that out of 28 districts in the state of Florida, my district ranks #1 in benefits and constituent services and getting money back. We prioritize all things as members should. Our VA, our disability, our SSI, our Treasury, our IRS, our FEMA, the things that have been held up in federal bureaucracy that has prevented them from getting what is deserved to them. And we'll continue to work for our veterans and the American people. But I'm honored to be here, and I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, we need Senator Scott in the Senate for another 6 years, and what I look forward to is hopefully having Leader Scott as we take the majority in the Senate to truly lead. Because this is a man who believes in the conviction of the American spirit. This is a man who understands American exceptionalism. This is a man like myself who had come from nothing. You know, I came from a broken home where my mom and dad had substance and drug addiction. My father spent 30 years in prison. My mom spent 7.5 years in prison. I was adopted by my grandparents when I was 9 years old, where my grandfather was a welder and my grandmother was a stay-at-home mom, cosmetologist, used to do hair on the weekend after church. You know, what makes America so exceptional is that we don't have a glass ceiling and our socioeconomic status doesn't define us. With hard work, we believe in the ideas of equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And when you're willing to fight for that, as Senator Scott has pledged his life, not just in service in uniform, but with an understanding that our oath doesn't expire just because we take our uniform off. That's right. That we continue to dedicate ourselves to we the people, and that it's about not disenfranchising the American people, but empowering them through our abilities to be able to sit in office and to be able to lead by example. So I ask everyone, what is it that you're truly looking for? If it's representation, you'll find no one better. If it's leading by example, you'll find no one better. If it's being willing to pledge his own dedication and commitment and his treasures, as they talk about in the preambles of our Constitution, you'll find no one better. So ask everyone, get behind this man, Senator Rick Scott. Let him be the leader of our House. Let him go ahead and continue to drive forward for another 6 years, and let's make America great again. Yeah. Thank you.
That was very nice. Thank you. You know, one thing the court just talked about is making sure people have opportunity. I got elected in November 2010. I went to when National Guard was coming back from overseas, and people forget our National Guard gets deployed all the time. And they came back, and 30% of them didn't have a job. So unemployment rate was in the state was right around I think around 11% at the time, but 30%. And so what we did, we all came together, the House, the Senate, and businesses around the state. And within 2 years, the unemployment rate it came down for everybody, but it came down for veterans, below what the state unemployment rate was. Because if you look at veterans, are just like all the rest of us. They want to have self-sufficiency. They're worried about their kids' education, and they want to be safe. They're just like everybody else. So we all came together and did that. But Calvin said it, and Corey said it too. We have to worry about our veterans. There's too many homeless veterans. There's too many veterans that are dealing with substance abuse. and going hungry. So we still have a lot of work to do. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for your support. I am a full service senator, and so I want to thank everybody for supporting being part of Veterans for Rick Scott, and I'll work hard to make sure I represent you well. So thank you. Thank you.